Welcome to the Charron Zone. I'm stoked because I'm here with my good friend Kris Bradley. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How you doing?
Awesome. I'm doing great. And you're coming to us from Nashville, right?
Yep.
Cool, cool, cool. And you are a singer, songwriter, and a producer in Nashville. So we want to dive right into it and just let everybody know like what you've been up to in your career and what brings you on the Charron Zone.
Well, what I've been up to, I kind of do a bunch of different stuff. I'm always switching hats. I do anything from top lining on DJ's tracks and session vocals, where people will just hire me to sing on their stuff. People will hire me to do their demos. Maybe they're a songwriter, they don't know how to record themselves, so they give me their work tape and I turn it into a finished master for them. And then, I also have started teaching people how to do this. I've been producing for major production libraries and film and TV and sync and stuff like that. So just
Wow.
always changing hats to do a different thing, but it's pretty.
You're like the Swiss Army knife of musicians.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you end up in Nashville? Because I know that you were. Are you from LA or were you just living in LA and doing music?
Yeah, I'm actually born and raised LA native,
Oh
but
wow.
yeah, I took a couple trips out to Nashville in one year. I believe it was 2015, and I just fell in love with the community. Everything is just like so close together, and everyone treats it like a full-time job, even if it's not. And in LA, it was just so spread out, and I never found that sense of community and like I'll call it professionalism, where it's like, what do you
Yes.
do today? Well, I've got to write at 10 and I've got to write at 2 and then a session at 4. Like, I didn't have that community in LA. So I was like,
Yeah.
man, F that. I'm
That's
coming to
what's so
Nashville.
impressive about Nashville is that everyone is really very professional and even before before they're professional,
Yeah,
before they're doing it professionally, and that's why so many people and everybody's so talented and everybody's so driven, and if you are that in that same mindset, then you just get along with a lot of people there. It's
absolutely.
hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah, it's the total mastermind theory. You're around people,
Yeah,
like like-minded people, and that's just so powerful. So that's what
absolutely.
brought me here.
That's awesome. So how did you start producing? Because actually, when I first met you, I knew that you were a singer and songwriter, but I didn't know that you were also a producer.
Yeah, I actually got started producing because I couldn't afford to get demos done anymore. Like I'd work with publishers and they'd be like, "Oh, this is a great song. You need to get a track guy on it. You need to get a track guy on it." I'm like, "Okay," and I forked out money a couple times. So I'm like, "Wait, okay, I write a lot of songs. Like, it's get pretty expensive habits." So I started learning how to produce my own songs, and then it just happened really naturally that friends and other people started getting referred to me like, "Hey, can you produce my song? How much would that cost?" And it just kind of developed into what it is now, which I'm doing it full time professionally, which is just kind of incredible. I mean, I don't have to put on real pants most days, and that makes me very happy.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So now you're like, you need a track girl.
What's that?
Now
Right.
instead of a track guy, you need a track girl.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So, of course, this podcast is about, trying to help people along the way, up and coming musicians, producers, people that want to do what you're doing. And so I wanted to ask you stuff like, what's your biggest mistake that you may have made along the way in your career to get to where you are now?
Um, I would say that I wish that I'm a recovering perfectionist, and it just took me so long to actually put music out into the world. I mean, from my first record, even to like when I was producing my own stuff, I wouldn't like share it with anyone. I was like waiting for it to be perfect, and then I was
Yeah.
waiting for to get a pub deal or to get a record deal or an investor, and all those things were floating around me and presenting themselves at times, and I kept thinking I had to wait for permission before I could go and just be an artist.
Yeah.
And so like that's my biggest like regret is that I didn't just start putting stuff out into the world sooner, because I'm sure that 5 years from now, when I look back at the stuff I'm doing now and go, yeah, that was cute, like
Yeah.
we keep growing and improving. And so I'm more okay now with people seeing that growth and being imperfect and authentic than I ever have been. So I wish that I had started sooner. But
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Especially I know for one thing, the songwriting process. If you try to kind of edit yourself during the process and you try to write something that you think is perfect, you can really, at least in my experience, I really can get in my own way. So I try not to think.
100%. Oh, co-writing at first was so hard for me as a recovering perfectionist because the rejection of like throwing something out and, oh, what is that stupid? Oh, now whenever I'm in the room, I'm like, I'm about to say something really dumb.
Yeah.
But it's okay because sometimes that dumb thing is what gets the other person exactly to where they needed to go. So even your no could be what got that other person to the yes. So it's all contributing, It's all art, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I struggled with it as well. And whenever someone says something like, "Oh, this might be weird," I always say, "Oh, weird. I like weird. Weird is good." No, nothing. There's no stupid like. It's definitely important to try to make the person you're in the room with just be free. Like there's no stupid stuff in here because, a lot of times when someone's like, "Oh, this is kind of weird," it's awesome.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, very cool. So, having said that, do you have any advice for like up and coming singer-songwriters, producers that maybe want to move to Nashville or just moved to Nashville and they're looking to do similar things?
Yeah. So I would say that just know that you are a business, like you are an entrepreneur, and don't wait to be rescued. Don't wait for other people to do it for you. And yes, in a perfect world, we have a huge team around us, just like the olden, like everyone gets a record deal days. And, you've got someone to do your marketing. You've got someone
a record deal. You get a record deal. You get a record deal.
Well, there used to be millions of dollars, right? And now there's millions of rock stars and little dollars. So, it's not the same, but don't wait to be rescued. Don't wait to no one's going to do it for you. It just doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as a developmental deal anymore. Mm-hmm. No one's going, "Oh, you're talented. Let's develop you." You got to be a boss. Like you have to own it. And I'm not saying everyone has to be a triple threat, but for me, adding production to being a singer and a songwriter exponentially grew all my opportunities. Because now they're like, "Oh, you can track your own vocals. Oh, you can contribute to the track." And it just added value. But if I had waited around for a producer to discover me, I'd still be like singing in bar, and doing stuff that I don't want to be doing. So
right, and to go right off of that, that's literally money because if you're talking about the real music business, you're talking about either like you did it before, having to pay somebody to record a demo, and now you are going in there and you're like cash money because if you can record the demo, then you're an asset to whoever you're writing with or the publisher. So
100%. And even if you're not releasing that demo, even if let's say you're the songwriter, the artist, and now you can communicate with your producer by saying, "Hey, here's these parts I was hearing in my head. I'm not really a piano player, but it goes like ding, ding, ding." You can tinker around just enough to get ideas out. Yep. Oh my gosh. That is just so much value already added. Not to mention you can get to a point where if you could just lay down a clean vocal and a piano or a vocal guitar, that's sync money right there. If you've got a great song that stands on its own, you don't need to be a killer producer. You just need to know how to capture the recording, right?
Totally.
So I would just say, know that you're an entrepreneur, own it, don't expect people to save you, and learn as much as you possibly can. I think this is a business where being a jack of all trades is actually very beneficial. And don't stay away from that, because you have to be able to do it all for yourself. Marketing, promo, producing, all of it, booking,
Yeah. I was just talking to Nicole about it today. I'm sitting here doing I taught myself Photoshop. I'm doing, for the, and I have, like we were talking about earlier, we wear so many hats, and that's part of how you can be successful today is you have to be able to, do a little bit of Photoshop. You don't have once you get to a certain point, then you can hire people. And for my really important stuff, I do that. But for half of it, I just do it myself. And it's it can be overwhelming, but you definitely don't want to be limited because especially now compared to 10 years ago or 15 years ago, there's seemingly 5 billion more songwriters. There's 5 billion more singers. Right. And if you're just one of them, then your odds are a lot better to be more successful if you can, just like you said, if you're a triple threat and you
Right.
have other things that you can bring to the table and that add value to other people.
100%.
So let's see. So tell us more about this, because I know that you have the course that is teaching people how to be a Swiss Army knife like yourself. I like that.
I can too. I'm gonna keep using that.
Yeah, that's cool. And a triple threat. So tell me more about this and what you're teaching and how you're doing it.
Sure. So I have a company called Produce Like a Boss, where I'm teaching artists and songwriters and producers how to produce their own music. And I have a new course. It's the first course. And it's kind of an introductory slash, I'd say it's like a beginner slash intermediate course for how to produce your music.
Mm-hmm.
And the first course is called From Voice Memo to Demo. So I literally take like a voice memo that's on my phone. It's like a shitty recording that I just use, like, the iPhone voice memo record. And then I pull it into Logic, and we sit there and we look at it together. We pull out a lyric sheet and we listen and we say, okay, what instruments would really suit this lyric and this tone? You listen to the rough work tape to say, oh, this is actually kind of like a pop country song. Okay, what goes in a pop country? Well, it's going to have these synthetic elements and these pop elements, but also some real elements and, organic stuff like acoustic guitars. And we just start building like the palette, And then from there, I just walk you through it. It's literally a step-by-step process where I just hold your hand and like take you through from that part of it all the way through mixing and then through mastering, so that by the end, you've got a full-blown mixed and mastered demo.
That is slamming. From memo to demo.
From voice memo to demo.
I love it.
I've created a bunch of worksheets too, like an EQ guide, and like I call this one sheet, it's the IPP sheet, which is instrument plugin and purpose. Mm-hmm. So if I'm using like a synth, for example, like called like windy chimes, I'm making that up, but it's like, oh, why did she use windy chimes and they only came in on the second verse? And it's like right here, it says what the plugin is that I used and why. Oh, I put these in here as a counter melody because it added a lift to the second verse so that it wasn't boring by copying the first verse and stuff like that. So it makes you understand arrangement more. Mm-hmm. So basically it's geared towards the singer-songwriter, because I feel like we speak a different language than the engineer-brained people that are like really into techie stuff and like gearheads. And no offense, like I love gearheads, but I'm not one of them. Like I've been doing it. So I don't work with outboard gear. I'm all in the box, and I'm all about I'm all about the song. Before, like, oh, we did this on a vintage ribbon mic. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, it's more about, it's all about the song.
Totally.
There's nothing else, right? So that's what it is.
Well, let me tell you, everybody listening or watching, this is right up my alley, and I am taking this course because I have been that way. I've always wanted to be able to throw down my own demos, but I always thought, number one, I'm too busy. I'm not techie. I just didn't want to invest the time because it was so intimidating. I thought when I think of producing or even just doing a demo on my Logic or something, I think of the studios that I go to and all of this lingo and everything that when I go into the studio and that everybody they're talking about, the engineer's talking about, and the producer, I'm kind of lost, because I'm on the songwriter side and I'm just like, I just want to be able to write, songs and it's all about the song. But this is invaluable because it's really, for me, I'm kind of a beginner. I do some things, and I do the podcast and everything, and so I do a little bit with DAWs, but this is a perfect thing for beginners like me.
Awesome. Well, I mean, part of my goal is to bridge that gap a little bit. I don't feel like it should be an us and them thing with like producers and artists. And like when artists come in and we're working together and they're like, oh, right there, it should go like, zzz, and they start doing kind of like sound effects. I'm like, your sound design, right? Like right now you're producing. Oh, they'll be like, ha. And they start singing all these background, they're arranging right there. They don't even know. If someone would just give them the confidence to say, you can do this. The ideas are there. Yep. Let me show you how to do it without overwhelming you with how many milliseconds are on that reverb. You don't need to know that.
Right.
And what happens is I think a lot of teachers forget, or they don't think about that. They think, I'm going to teach you what an audio waveform is by talking about bit rate and sample. People Artists don't want to hear about that.
Yeah.
If I start talking about ratio and threshold on a compression, so let's talk about how we can use what has been provided for us, i.e. presets, at geniuses at Apple, and still using our ears to tweak from there, but we don't need to know like as much. I think that's what overwhelms a lot of people is I need to learn how everything works in Logic. Do you know how long that would take? You know how much that program does that you will never, ever need to learn? So that's what I do, is I say, here's what you need to learn to do what you want to do.
Well, God bless you for doing it.
God bless America.
All of us, singer-songwriters definitely appreciate it because, like I said, it's like many things, like it's the thought of it is overwhelming. It's intimidating, so you don't start, and that's. If you can get somebody like me to start doing it, then that's great because I've been intimidated by it because it just seems like such a colossal undertaking. So awesome. Tell everybody where they can check the course out.
So my production company's name is Boom Fox Productions. It's like Boom Box, but Boom Fox, like Foxy Lady. So it's boomfoxproductions.com is where you can find me as a producer and a teacher. And I think we're going to leave a link in the show notes as well, right?
Yes, I will put a link to the course down there and everywhere. Cool.
Also, the course is only open for a week. It's not around forever. I forgot to mention that. It's a limited time. It's too much for me to keep it going all the time because of the management that needs to be done with the members. So it's only open for a limited time. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, so everybody check it out as soon as you listen to this or as soon as you watch it, and get in there and be part of Kris's community in there. When I'll see you guys in there.
Yay!
Cool. Well, thank you, Kris Bradley. We really appreciate you being on the Charron Zone, and everybody go check her out because you want to be a Swiss Army knife.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
All right.